Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. Today is May 21st, 2014. Today is Wednesday. So as the week progresses, so do the economic news. So looking at today's economic calendar, just to highlight a few of the major things that are going to go on. The Bank of Japan has a monetary policy coming out this morning at a press conference, which should move the Japanese yen, as you all know. And we'll look at the graph that it's been on a little bit of a sideways trading against the USD and hitting several resistance levels on the GBP Japanese yen. So we'll look at the graph, but just to note that there are these numbers coming out earlier this morning. And then at 11:30, Bank of England has a monetary policy meeting, which should affect also the GBP. And then later today at 6 and at 9 o'clock, we have Chairman Yellen from the FOMC speaking about monetary policy. So usually these are traders looking for cues from these governors in order to give them some sort of direction of where the market is going. So it is a hefty day in terms of some of the content of what will be spoken about in the economic forum. Just of note, before we get started in most of our analysis, is the Aussie USD. Okay, we saw it really tank yesterday, about 70 pips, and then continued another 100 pips overnight. This thing has really broken down. If you remember, we had this a little bit of a consolidation here, formed a little bit of a support, previous to resistance, challenged the upper side, didn't really take it up, and now we're right here on the bottom of 0.9233. So looking at a longer time chart, okay, we have some support at 0.92. Let's take out a pen. Let's start drawing. At about these levels, we have some support. So we're really right there. Okay, the next support level, I would say, is somewhere in the 91 area. Okay, somewhere along these lines would be the next support. I would expect that we would bounce somewhere around this area and continue trading within maybe this lower range, okay, on this side, and have a hard time breaking this 93 level on the upper. So it has been beaten up quite persistently this week, the Aussie USD, but it could have a nice bounce, and I would expect a bounce at some point, but I wouldn't aggressively start jumping in until I see some sort of turnaround. And then this bar right here actually looks like a more bullish bar because it's closing above its high on an 8-hour chart. So really tanking this 170 pip move, almost 200 pip move, and now it should be bouncing at a certain point. So I would look to really anticipate a bounce and get in and play that bounce. Looking elsewhere in the GBP Japanese yen, we're at a different threshold here. Okay, and an 8-hour chart, you see we've been range trading for quite a while. If you look at the daily, we're in the upper range. Okay, just look at the weekly and I'll give you a sense of where we are. We broke this level at 162 and we tore it, and we went up to 170, 174, and then we've been trading this sideways right now. There hasn't been any news that's really been provoking us to go up into the 175, 177 level. So we've been sideways trading. So we're really just right here, okay? And this is not a bad place to be because we have about a 200 to 300 pip range right here. But as you can see, the past couple of months, it's really been trading in a much tighter range. Although these tighter ranges are actually working to our benefit. Okay, so we've seen it sell off a little bit on a 2-hour chart. Okay, but it's still tradable. There are some major spots that you could actually enter in. If you look here, actually at the bottom of the level. So to enter it just a little bit, just to play maybe the bounce, I don't think it's so bad. There's some decent money to be made in trading the bounce. So the GBP is still very, very strong compared to the Japanese yen, and we see that consistently. In terms of the USD Japanese yen, again, we're at the bottom of the level. All right? We're at literally the bottom of the trading range once again. We're revisiting these levels. A little bit, we're inching closer to the 100 range, okay, which is a major mark. And we see that it's making lower highs, and it's really bearish looking formation. So if we do break through 150, we can actually breach the 100 level, because 100 hasn't really been that momentous for us. It's been breached a few times. But in essence, there is this downside to about 192 to 100, okay, and then on further down 99, and so on and so forth. So it is a harder trade to trade the USD Japanese yen, just because it's really just been range trading for a very long time. But if we do breach this move down, we could definitely challenge the 100 level. Okay, so as you can see here, we're really breaching that right now. Okay, so there could be some opportunities to continue to chase it a little bit on the way down. Just be careful with the FOMC meeting later today. If there are any bearish sentiment coming out of the U.S., this might pop it right back up. So as you can see, we're really broken somewhat of this formation, and this looks a lot more bearish. On the way down, let's just look on how much downside we have. It could hit, like I said, 150. Okay, that's really the next pivot point. I would actually look to buy it at 150. Let's see if we can bounce off of it to see if it can sustain its fall. Looking at the GBPUSD, also with the GBP number coming out today, it's hanging out. All right, there's like a little bit of a head and shoulder formation. Okay, we're at that. Not much of a neckline here, but we're at that level where we could come up and revisit this 170 level, 169 level. On the daily, we've come a long way since last year into this 179 from 150, 149. So it has really taken a big rally on the upside. We haven't really sustained this consistency above 170, and I assumed that we would have this resistance at these levels, honestly, because at a certain point, 170 is a major psychological number. So due to Great Britain's great austerity measures, it has really produced a nice rally for the GBP, and let's see if it can continue. Okay, so I would look for opportunities today in the GBP. All right, the gold, not really much going on the gold. It ripped yesterday about 5-6 points. It jumped right off of 1289, 1290. And that was a great spot to pick it up. Actually, I missed the move by just maybe 20 minutes, a half hour. I actually anticipated that we would bounce right off this 1290 level, and we did. Okay, we bounced to 1295. Again, I'm not in love with this chart because it does look a little bit bearish. Okay, if we do sustain above 1295, maybe we could break back up to 1305. But as you can see, every time it wants to go down, it really doesn't let it go further down. So, there's not much conviction at this level. But if we do break above 1298, I would say we could go back to 1305 level, which would be a nice, little pivot move for guys that are day trading. Looking at the Dow Jones, the Dow really sold off again yesterday, 137 points right here. And like I said, every time it wants to go down, it brings it back up. So if we look at a 4-hour chart, we're really been challenging these levels every single time. It hasn't really given us much growth on the upside or much retracement on the downside. So, it's trading in this very tight range relatively to its size, because I think that, investors and, some of the fund managers are looking for some sort of confirmation before they take it higher. So although, we've been churning and churning, and this is really a nightmare for some some traders, because you get to these levels and you're not sure whether or not to short it or to go long it, because every time we do try to take it long, it sells off, and every time we do try to short it, it bounces right back. So you're at these levels where there's uncertainty, and uncertainty is a difficult time for traders to actually execute. So I would buy the bottom of the range for now and sell the top of the range, and just look for a quick trade in order to maximize profits, on the short run. But it's definitely worthwhile keeping an eye on it and looking what's going on with the trading as a whole. This is Razak at CMTrading. I want to thank you guys and have a great day.